and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache from NacheSnow.com. Welcome. I have my co-host this season on, Miss Lakay Umba from LakayUmba.com. Welcome, Lakay.
Thank you, Nache. Welcome. Great to be here as always.
Yes, my photographer who still hasn't taken any new photos of me, which is why you guys see photos from 5 years ago, not calling her out or anything.
Wow, so early in this program.
I know, right? So if you guys end up loving this episode, remember sharing is caring, my friends. Please share away. Also, please rate me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and leave a review. That is so helpful. If you're looking at us on YouTube, because this will be available in video, please give us a thumbs up and also leave a comment there. Let's see, what else do I have for you guys? Oh, as always, go to dreamsplansideas.com. I've got some Notion stuff over there, my friends. I have a free template for creatives, plus I have a paid template for travel, and then I'm going to have some other paid templates coming soon. But head on over there now to see what I have available. And if you want to learn more about Notion, remember to head on over to NacheSnow.com/Notion, and that will give you just a little something, dip your little toe into the whole kind of like Notion, automation, all the things craze. And then Lakay, definitely check her out. Lakay, what do you have going on?
Oh my goodness. This has literally been the busiest week I've had in a very long time. This episode won't come out until after all of this shenanigans happens, but I have 2 exhibitions opening on Friday. One is for Crowns of Glory, and that one's at Norfolk State University, and that one's all about hair and the journey of hair throughout the years. I was very excited about that one. So I have 2 pieces of photography in there. Then I have another one, because it'll be Black History Month when this episode airs. So that is a Black History exhibition, and I'm in there with some of my favorite artists, like Jackie Merritt is my absolute favorite artist. So she's going to be in there. And I have some work in there. It's in Gloucester. So I have to figure out, Nache, how to get from Gloucester to Norfolk, which is like driving from Baltimore to D.C., for 2 different exhibitions on the same night. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
But you will.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to both.
So, next episode is on cloning.
That's really what this episode is about, right? And, also this week, you'll be proud of me, I had a planning party at my studio. So I invited some of my clients and friends, and we just brought our planners and we played with stickers. I had to learn how to share as an adult. I don't like to share my stickers. I don't like to share my washi tape, but I did because I'm a fan of these people. And so everybody really got into it, and it was cool because it was very laid back, and we just got to talk, and it was about building community. So it was interesting when I was planning it, people were texting me, asking me about a dress code, like if it was going to be broadcast somewhere. No, we're just going to get together and play with stickers. But what I'm going to do next time, Nache, is I think I'm going to Zoom you in, because you are so good at giving direction as far as what to put where. Like, I'm still very much a novice, so my page looks good, but I haven't gone through and plugged all the stuff in. But I think if you were there virtually or in person one day, it would be the icing on the cake. So it was good. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it every month.
Very nice. I love that. Are you doing it? What is your timing? Like, are you going to do it like the week before the beginning of every month? Okay.
The
So
Thursday
then you're planning.
before. Yep.
Oh, that's excellent. I love it.
We did it last Thursday. We planned our February.
Oh,
and by plan, we put stickers down. I haven't put any information.
Okay. We need to work on that part.
They help me. They help me because I want to see the page.
But you actually have to put down like a plan. So today we are talking about artificial intelligence, and this is why we're talking about artificial intelligence. So it was about a month ago, I think, that I mentioned ChaptGPT to Lakay, right, Lakay, about a month ago.
Because she didn't want to tell me when she found out about it.
So
all the good stuff to herself.
Gatekeeping. I was experimenting first because
All the way.
sometimes I find stuff and I just send it to people and they're like, "What is this?" And then it ends up being something that fizzles out like shuffle from Pinterest.
Oh wait, what about the talk app that we did for a while?
Oh, Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Even though I every once in a while go on there and I still think that has like a lot of utility for various reasons. I just wasn't able to really dig in and use it. But I still think that one is very relevant. So it'll be interesting to see new iterations of how people use audio like that, live audio. But I still think that one has something. I just can't do it right now. So, anywho, so for you guys out there who are like, why should I care about this before I lose you? It's because ChatGPT is freaking awesome. It's by a company called OpenAI. It had a whole bunch of tech founders that started it up, and basically the purpose of the company is to figure out how to use artificial intelligence to better the world, so to speak. Okay. And what ChatGPT does is basically it's conversational. So you ask it a question and it will convey conversational answers. So it's very human like and it takes information from a huge data set in order to be able to spit back at you, for the lack of a better word, like answers. And we're going to go into some of the things you could do with ChatGPT. Have it write your resume, have it create a 30-day calendar for you, have it clean up text for you, have it tell you how to repaint your walls. You know what I'm saying? It is literally endless what it can tell you to do, but it revolutionizes how we normally search or do things, because normally if I'm looking for something, I gotta search it on Google and then I gotta open each article related to the topic, see if it's relevant, and then if it is, read all the things. But this artificial intelligence, it synthesizes all that information for me and then puts it in a format that's a little bit more usable and it's less work for me. So now instead of me digging through 20 websites, it synthesized that into 10 bullets or 3 paragraphs. And so I told like, hey, about this, and she was like, what?
Like, what is this? Sending me another nerdy thing again. Let me go check it out. But then it changed my life once again. I should never doubt you, Nache.
I'm just saying, I be out here on these internets seeing what is going to help us live our best life. And as soon as I heard about it and as soon as I signed up for it, I was like, this is going to forever change how we search and create content. And of course, there's a lot of controversy out there because people think that kids won't learn how to write because they're going to use it to write their papers and so forth like that. But we have to remember, like with every new evolution when it comes to like technology, that's what people always say. When Google came out, when cell phones came out, I mean, you can name a whole bunch of things. I'm sure there was like when someone invented the first car, it was like, oh my God, what is going to happen to the horses? I don't know. But everybody always panics and thinks that it is going to somehow ruin our lives.
Well,
But
to be fair, though, some technologies do ruin industries, right? We could
they
say that
do.
Amazon basically ruined malls across the country, right? Or
Yeah, in
I keep
bookstores.
yeah. So it's some relevance to the fear, but I think it just forces people to change and adopt. And I think that's the purpose of our conversation today, so we can get our people ahead of the game so that we can
Mm-hmm.
be early adopters and not be left in the smoke and left out of an industry where we can take advantage of it.
For sure, and just live better lives. So I'm gonna, if everybody kind of like bears with me a little bit, I feel like in order for us to have a really good conversation and in order for the listeners out there to truly follow along, we need some base definitions of what all the things are. And so, of course, I scoured the net. to try to find something that really, regardless if you're like a techie or not, that really like breaks down what we're talking about. So as we talk about tools, techniques, and so forth, like we're all on the same page. So interesting to get your thoughts on this, Lakay. First of all, let's just define artificial intelligence. So the one that I like the best is by Investopedia, and it says artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think like humans and mimic their actions.
I don't like that. I don't like it.
Why not?
We saw that movie back in the day. Will Smith let us know what was going to happen.
Maybe, but we're a long way from that. And we're going to hopefully learn from the movies and from cautionary tales by scientists and developers and all the people out there that are warning how this could go sideways, and we're going to create good machines, good AI technologies. We're going to feed it with good data.
Ever the optimist.
Okay, but let me go even further. So I'm going to link to that. I'm also going to link to IBM article that not only gives its own definition of AI, but it also explains that there are subsets to AI, which are deep learning and machine learning. So it's two ways that AI gets its information. So what we're going to be mainly talking about today is like machine learning, okay? AI that is fed by that, not by humans, because deep learning, I believe, is like more where like humans intervene. Machine learning is more where it is taking these like large data sets and then coming up with the answers. And I'm simplifying this, but I have an article that will really dig into it. And then also, here's something else. So according to McKinsey, which I'll also link to, generative artificial intelligence, and these are algorithms that things like ChatGPT uses, can be used to create new content, including audio, code, images, text, simulations, and videos. And recent new breakthroughs in the field have the potential to drastically change the way we approach content creations. Systems created with generative AI falls under the broad category of machine learning. Okay, so that's a lot of terms here: generative artificial intelligence, machine learning, right? Deep learning, which is not a part of this right now because we're going to be talking about ChatGPT and DALL-E, which is used in order to generate images, and that is like a whole thing. The last thing that I will mention as a base that I'll read is I think that it is also important to distinguish AI from automation because they're actually different. So AI refers to systems that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision making, and language transition. So that's AI. Automation, on the other hand, refers to the use of technology to perform repetitive tasks without human intervention. So AI is a subset of automation because AI systems can automate tasks, but not all automation uses AI. All right?
I'm with you.
You with me? Everybody following. Everybody nod your head. We can't see you, but I see you. Okay, so that is the difference. So you can automate without using AI, but there are automations that use AI, but they are two different things. All right?
So, for example, I use Calendly on my website so people can go through and make their own appointments to book with me. That's not using AI, that's using automation.
That's an interesting question because it depends. Because if someone was just booked a random time, then yes, that would just be simple automation. But if Calendly is using some AI algorithm to find the best times to meet with you, then it would be using automations with AI. I don't think Calendly does that.
I
But
have to put in my
then,
own schedule. Yeah.
yeah, so then because you're doing it yourself, then that would just be automation. It would
Okay.
only include AI if for some reason it was doing something that was a little bit more intelligent. Like even when I do a quick Google search, like it describes itself as a scheduling automation platform.
Okay.
And when AI is brought up, it's when you use things like, and even that's not really AI, Zapier's automation tool, because you're like telling it. So that's really just automation too. Yeah. So at least on first blush, as of right now, yeah, there's no AI that's built into it that I can see, but I could be wrong. Because right now it's like we're literally manually putting it in there. So it's us doing it versus it intelligently doing it based on data. And to help out, because I could see your wheels turning. So, examples of artificial intelligence include ride sharing apps like Uber and Lyft, speech recognition, anything that has problem solving, machine learning, which we've talked about, smart email categorizations, spam filters, Amazon Alexa devices, any chat box, Apple Siri, Google Now, the Internet of Things, Google predictive searches, things like that. And I got this from a website called From a Difference Between. And then they have examples of automation include like form autofilling, customer support, digital signatures, automatic assembly, online banking, payment processes, numerical control machines, automated waste management, automated retail. So things that don't require any machine learning it to do. It just does it. It's just automated. You program it to do something and then it does it. And then like a thermostat. This is one of the common examples of an automated system is a thermostat used on household appliances.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, my house is already being taken over by AI. And I just need to bend to its will now.
Yeah, I mean, just if you already started using Siri, your virtual
Right.
assistant. And if you did have something like Alexa or something like that, yeah. So as you can see, like this isn't like a new thing. Like we're already using AI. I mentioned ChatGPT, which Lakay, you love now. But Canva, you use Canva, right?
I do.
In Canva.
For all my design students who may be listening to this, no, I don't use Canva. Canva, what's that?
Yeah, you're supposed to be using Adobe. What's going on with that? No.
Get into why I use Canva on another day.
I know. There's nothing wrong with using Canva, people, too. It's just a joke as we both got our masters in publication design, and the professional design software is Adobe. So Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, you name it. And which they have automations too. And so Canva is like blasphemy because it's not, quote, the professional design software, but the thing is, like, as long as you can get it done, you can get it done. So it doesn't matter. But it's just those other tools, when it comes to certain things, are a little bit more powerful. So yeah, so Canva uses like the two things from OpenAI, and there's other places out there too that do these, but ChatGPT is all about AI text generation, and then DALL-E 2 is all about image generation. And so they have a magic write, which will automatically do copy or Twitter post or whatever you want. And then they also have an image generator similar to DALL-E that'll allow you to create images, I think even GIFs and things like that, which is pretty cool. And then you have Grammarly. Grammarly technically is AI also. And I pay for Grammarly. They have a free version, but that helps clean up your text and sometimes even rewrite things if you are grammatically incorrect.
I love Grammarly. Absolutely love it. That's the only way I got through grad school.
So yeah, so hopefully that wasn't overwhelming, and hopefully I did a okay job of like clearly explaining artificial intelligence versus automation and how artificial intelligence that is fed by machine learning works. But so now, like, hey, what I want to talk about is like different ways entrepreneurs can use AI.
Yes, I was hoping you were going to say that.
So please give your thoughts.
I have very mixed feelings about where we are going with AI, but I have gotten I actually loved using ChatGPT, and what I currently use it for is I might plan out my social media calendar. So I'll say, how often should a photographer post on Instagram per month? and it'll literally tell me post twice a week or whatever it will say. You can ask it anything. I think the conundrum for me and other people is like, where do you draw the line? That's not what you asked me to talk about though. So let me go back. How do I use
Yeah,
it?
because we'll talk about the drawbacks of it, of using that, using things like Dolly, and even we can go into kind of
Okay.
the ethical conversation. But for now, it's just like, how can we use it in order to help us?
This is the part I don't want to tell people. So friends, right? Everybody who listens to your podcast, we know each other. We're cool. If you're listening, you're probably a creative and you're probably a creative entrepreneur of some shape or form, which is fantastic. Some things that take me a long time are writing captions and just writing those kind of things. So I use ChatGPT to write a lot of things. And I won't even say a lot. It's just I'm just trickling. I'm learning how to do it. It might be, what are the 4 reasons why somebody needs to update their headshots? I'll put that in ChatGPT and it'll tell me the 4 reasons why. And then I'm going to somehow turn those into blog posts or Instagram posts or whatever. We'll see that this week. We'll let y'all know that now. And so that's just helpful for me because that was always my, what do you call that? My roadblock, my bottleneck. I was bottlenecking myself because it's like the text. Oh, I don't know how to put this together. Yeah. What did you use? I use it for everything.
So I think so if you go to OpenAI, sign up for ChatGPT, you can have it create a 30-day, you could say create a 30-day content marketing plan for a photographer. And it'll create it. And then let's say it creates that content plan and it doesn't have enough of something in it. You could be like, modify the plan to include X. And it'll do that. You can ask it
In
to
3 seconds.
create, on a personal level, a meal plan for you. Create a 30-day meal plan or create a 7-day lunch meal plan that includes keto recipes. Like you could be that specific and it will create it for you. Yes. You can, for personally, you could say, let me know how I can reduce my water bill. And it will give you examples. And if one of the examples is intriguing, you could be like, oh, tell me more about using a blah, blah, blah. And it will spit that answer to you. You can ask it, you can use it for brainstorming. I'm thinking about creating a new product this summer for my watercolor business. Give me some launch strategies or give me some ideas of things that I could paint that might appeal to people. You can literally ask it anything. Give me the top 3X. Give me whatever. We'll get into this later because you do have to like really look at what it says and verify the answers because it's not gonna, I mean, it's pretty good, but of course the answers could be inaccurate or not quite what you're looking for. But usually they are pretty spot on, and you can continue to ask it questions in order to refine the answer it provides you. You can even say, write a newsletter. Like I could tell it, write a newsletter article on the top 3 things people can do in order to get organized in February, and it will write it for me. It'll write a paper for me. It'll write the newsletter, and I could be like, you know what? Please incorporate using apps in one of the ideas in the article or in the newsletter you wrote, and then it'll rewrite the newsletter in order to then include apps. Like,
I like that you're asking the computer, please. Very pleased with you.
it will also. Let's say, and done this, like, right, I've experimented with this on the text for the summary text that I provided for one of our episodes, the color episodes. I pasted the text in there, or I said, please make this text more engaging. And I put colon and I pasted what I wrote. And then it did a little, and then just added just a little spice to it, added some little buzzwords and stuff. And you can do it with code. I've talked to developers who have put in code and said, this code isn't working. Please figure out why it's not doing X. And the AI will, I believe, spit back out the fix or write code for you. So developers are loving this.
Actually, I can't even think about the positives without thinking about the ick factor in this too. Because as much as I plan to use this and want to use it, I'm also thinking on a consumer side, will people still trust me if they know that my content is AI generated, even though I put the ideas in there? And I think I even asked you about this too. And your answer placated me a little bit, but it's still, I'm like, I don't know about this. So Shay wisely told me is that not everybody is going to be putting in the same query. So even though I'm a photographer, we could all be portrait photographers. Even if I put in the same question, it's not going to give you the same answer, but 9 times out of 10, we're not going to ask the same question. So it still has some of my DNA in it when I'm getting the answer. Is that what you said?
Yeah. And then you could even tell it, you can give it also, you can give it a sample of something that you've personally written and say, please learn my writing style for a newsletter I'm going to ask
Stop
you.
playing. No,
Yes.
are you
Yes.
serious?
Yes. Yes. Here's kind of where the tricky part about it comes in, because I was trying to find it, but a news organization was using it, I forgot which one, in order to generate articles, like finance articles, I think it was, and it was wrong, the information that is spit out. And this kind of comes, like, we're going to get into the not so good parts of AI. And this is where humans still have to be involved, because even though it was generating it, because I think Associated Press sometimes uses AI too to help like create articles. If I find it, I'll send you guys, or I'll put the articles in the show notes. But the thing about it is, especially when you are giving out information that's very specific, right? Like finance or tips for something, like it's incumbent upon the person that's going to release that information to make sure that it's accurate, right? And then also, you can modify it a little bit. So I've had it generate maybe like a paragraph for me, but then I'll kind of like maybe weave in some other things, and then I'll actually put the paragraph back into ChatGPT and be like, clean this up. But then now it's like my ideas are also infused in the ideas that were generated by the system. I've fact checked it. And so it's just a tool. It's just helping me refine my message, but I still have to do the due diligence of making sure it has my voice, it sounds like me, and it's accurate if I choose to use it.
Yes. And that's a reason why I wanted to be a part of this conversation when Nache talked about, let's do it. Maybe I think it was my idea. Let's just go ahead and say that. So Nache, we need to let the people know that they need to know about this. Because Nache wasn't going to tell anybody.
I think I explicitly remember Luque saying, don't put this in your newsletter. I just want to state that. She was gatekeeping big time. She said, don't tell the people until I've used it.
Until I've used
I was
it.
like, wow.
That was a long time ago. But here, I like the way you phrase that it's just a tool. There is a principal that I follow on Instagram who started this big school in California. He always talks about using the technology that's available now to help his students instead of waiting until God knows when, 20 years from now, our students are catching up to stuff that's been around for years. So his point was that in some ways, wealthy people have always had something like this. So, forms of tutors or being able to go to the best schools and this, that, and the other. So, in some ways, ChatGPT levels the playing field for some people because you don't have who don't have those same advantages of paying somebody to write your content. There's photographers who pay people to do that.
And it's really the same, because
So it's the
they're
same.
not right. Like the photographer that's putting out that content isn't technically writing it. Someone else's. It's not a machine, but it is a
Right.
person who could still get the information wrong or be toned
Right.
up or
So you'll
whatever.
have to go back and so that's why I think it's important to help people level the playing field. Now, people who are interested in it, there's always going to be people who don't give two fig newtons about all of this stuff. But if it can help in some ways, I wanted to make sure everyone knew about it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was trying to find, let me see, I had a good article on, it'll come as we're talking, but it was like a good article that kind of gives the downsides of AI. I'm signed up for the beta of Notion using AI. So essentially, a lot of people will use Notion to plan their content. And so they are incorporating like a ChatGPT, magic text, whatever within their platform, but it's not released to everyone yet. And I'm on the wait list. But I think their list of the current limitations of AI, which kind of mimics what's on the ChatGPT site too a little bit, is exactly what we have to be careful of. So, one is it may output incorrect information. So it's like it'll sound intelligent. Like whatever ChatGPT or any other thing that is using that algorithm, when it spits out content, paragraphs, bullets, it's going to sound accurate, but it doesn't mean it's accurate. So it's just
It's going to be grammatically correct. All of your periods and commas are going to be in the right place, but that doesn't mean
the
that it's right.
information is accurate. And that is to your point too. If you, as a photographer, were paying someone to write articles or newsletters or whatever for you, that sometimes that could be inaccurate too, right? You got reporters that get things wrong. So it's not just a machine problem, it's just a problem in general. So regardless, if you're getting your information from someplace else, you should always check that information. The second thing they put is may output harmful content when prompted. So if someone asks a question that could be racist, it might input or output a racist answer because it's being fed by the internet. They're trying to train these systems in order to know when something is offensive or not. But you have to think about the amount of data that these algorithms are using. It is ridiculous. It's like more than the human brain could comprehend, right? So they are working hard to try to train it to know when something is harmful, but they're not going to catch everything. So it's telling you like, hey, someone might ask a question that is harmful to society and it might spit out like how to kill somebody. You know what I'm saying? It's the truth, right? Like it might then outline that for someone and someone could use that for harm, right? So I think that's just like a disclaimer. Hey, this could happen.
I think ChatGPT in particular, I think they do have protections in place where certain words won't come out. Like it doesn't always give me an answer to some things too, but I think I read somewhere in their disclaimer that it tries to keep harmful speech and things that are detrimental out, which I think is good, but they're probably just one of many companies that are going to come to the forefront. So hopefully there'll be a model for good things.
And I think it was recently in the news. If I find it, I'll try to put it out there too. Even that comes with some pain points too, because someone has to train the model in order to not do that. And I think they were paying people overseas, and I forgot where it was, like Indonesia or something, like $2 an hour to do it, like not even minimum wage in order to do that. And so then that raises like ethical concerns too, right? So yeah, that's great that they're training it, but can you actually pay the people that are training it like a minimum wage at least? So yeah, so many things. The next thing that they note is may not know about recent events occurring in the last 6 to 12 months and may output inaccurate or outdated results. ChatGPT 3, I'm not sure what data set it's using. I didn't look that up. But at first, when ChatGPT came out, it was like a year off, right? So it was like 21 data or something that it was using. So depending on what you're asking it to, it may not have the latest information. And then the last thing is, which is a huge thing, especially for minorities, is it may contain bias and output biased responses because we're not always represented in the data. And so when we're not represented in the data, when it comes to these text and image generated models, like the output isn't great because it hasn't been trained in order to appropriately take us into account, which is terrible. And there was even, I think, something, I can't remember if it was with Dolly or not, but it was like, it was bad with like Black people and like animals and stuff like that. And yeah, it's not perfect, right? It is being trained by the internet. And the internet is the Wild West, right? You got the dark web out there, you got people hate speech out there, you got lack of representation. We're not fully represented on the internet. There's just so many different things. So this will evolve, but if we're not like a part of it, if we're not a part of the conversation, then these things won't get fixed. So I feel like we should use them. We should call out data that isn't right, and we should make sure that these models are using the best data possible.
So we've been talking a lot about data and writing. Writing is definitely a pain point for me, so that's why I was excited about ChatGPT. But when I was doing research about AI and the uproar, I came across a lot of articles about how creatives feel about it. Because when Dolly, and is Dolly the same one that's a couple of weeks ago, everybody was changing their profiles and they had all these AI generated pictures of themselves? Is that the same one?
That I feel like it's based on the same model. I want to say that that app was like Fresco or something. It was an app that people were paying for that would do this kind of AI generation of their face.
The uproar right now is that when AI generated art is being taken from artists who are trying to promote themselves online, but then you can just type in something in the style of Lake Umba and then it will spit you out a picture in my style. And so I don't know that there's any lawsuits or anything being brought out yet, but there needs to be some conversation about what is it called, intellectual
Mm-hmm.
property, and how certain things. That's one thing to have data. Data doesn't change, but when you have creatives, you sit there and you spend hours coming up with a concept. You try to promote it, and then you just type in something, and then it can spit it back out. That becomes a little bit of an issue. So there's pros and cons to it, like everything else. For the most part, people who are into art are going to go with the originals always. The AI is just something fun. But if you can imagine the amount of dilution that can happen if the general public starts to prefer that type of work as opposed to something new or original. So that's been the big debate. And I think recently, and I'll have to pull this up too, Nache, there was some kind of AI generated artwork that was sold in a gallery. So that also, because you could say, oh, it's not original until you make it to a gallery and everybody can do it. So there's still, we have a long way to come in figuring out how to do this responsibly. Yeah, what is that art? I do have it. Hold on.
Yeah, and I was trying, I can't find it. I'll put it in the show notes because I see images like people I follow where they basically uploaded images of their self and then they had an app or whatever, gave them in these kind of like sci-fi futuristic kind of backgrounds, but using with their face. And even Lakay and I recently were admiring some photos that were AI generated of Black elders, and they were in like these, it was like a fashion show type of environment, and they had these beautiful garments on, and it was all AI generated, I believe. And so just to make sure that people are understanding like what we're talking about too. And I honestly, I haven't, I'm more on the tech side, interesting enough, than the image side. I haven't played around with that as much, but to my understanding, like for Dolly, is if you like, I can upload a one of Lakay's photos, and then I can ask Dolly to create a scene of maybe me or whatever that is looks similar to the style of Lakay's photo. And you could do that with artwork, you could do it with all kind of things, or you could just start from scratch and you can ask DALL-E or any of the other ones that are based on that same model to generate a painting that looks like a dog is floating in space and the moon is twinkling to the right. And it'll generate it, right? Some of these images look like yuck, but some of these images, like one in particular, won in an art show. And then when they found out it was auto generated and the person really didn't, I can't remember if it was painting it or whatever, they were just like, is this okay? Because technically all they did was have a algorithm, a model, generate the art where everybody else went into Photoshop or took a photo or painted or whatever it is. I forgot what type of art show it was. And so there's like lots of conversations about, one, you're right, like, hey, like is this right? But two, when you are basing art or photos off of someone else's work. Now, someone can argue, let's say if I'm a Nache fan and I'm learning how to do photography and Nache inspires me and I model the way I photograph off of her, that's still another way to do it, right? It's just not automated. So it's not like it doesn't happen now. So I think
But there's some skill set involved. Like, of course, I've been influenced by a number of photographers, or even in my design work. Of course, I'm influenced, but I actually have a camera in my hand. So, can you still call it photography or whatever? Let's say, can you still
watercolor,
call it
whatever.
painting if you have never picked up a paintbrush and it generates it in 3 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the bigger issue to me. Of course, we're going to be influenced by other artists. I don't think there's any type of art that hasn't already been created. But
I think the answer will be
what's the
yes. And the reason why I say is yes is because I think before there were computers, people only did stuff by hand. And then eventually, if I go into Procreate and I illustrate something now, that's created art. But someone from the old school might say it's not art because I didn't create it with a paintbrush, with a pen, with a pencil. It's like the evolution of art is changing because yeah, someone could be like, oh, what you created in Procreate, that's not art. But I would argue, no, it is art. And you could argue that, but yeah, it's not traditional art, but at least you're still a human doing it based on, right?
Don't talk to me about Procreate. I have a big bone to pick with my students who all use
That's
Procreate.
the
It's
future.
different, but okay, I get it. However, it's tracing. They
But
that's what
that's
they
what
do.
they're doing,
They
right?
bring the
Yeah.
picture and they trace. So I still don't see that as a skill set because without that original picture, can you still do it?
Think about photography, right? Because someone from the old school might say the fact that you don't have to go in the dark room anymore. What is that really true photography? Because you had to go in the dark room and you had to do the film. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, that's a process. The photography happens when you're at the
that is
shutter.
fair. But some hardcore people I remember back in the day had real issues with digital cameras. Right. They said that
Mhm.
it was degrading the art of photography and that it was going to ruin photography as we know it. Digital cameras.
Yeah,
You don't agree with that?
I don't think that was no, I don't think that was the bigger argument. The bigger argument was by making it so widely available to people with digital photography that it was going to water it down. And it did. It did. But then you had to adjust your skill set so you rose above it. Cuz literally the camera phones and the digital cameras, it did change a lot of things, but you still have to be able to take a good picture.
Right.
I'm still composing a good picture. I'm
I think
saying
people will argue that, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Kay just rolled
flip
her
the
eyes
picture.
for those who are just listening. That in order to create even a good composition using artificial intelligence, you are going to have some skill set. You're going to have to know what to ask. You're going to have to know how to ask it to modify it in order to create very unique images that can be traced back to you. And I think as the models get more sophisticated, people will be able to create these AI generated images and you'll be able to tell who created them because they're going to have a signature to them. So I don't think it's going anywhere, and I think it's going to be end up being another art form in the future. So we can either embrace or fight it.
You're what's wrong with this whole country. Yeah,
Hey, I'm not saying but I think there is
you're right.
something still to be said about learning a craft and doing it by hand. But I think that art as we know it is evolving. And it'll be interesting how people put value in or how they value artificially generated images and how much they're going to be willing to pay for something that's auto generated versus something that has been crafted by hand or even crafted on a computer with Photoshop or Illustrator, not even using Procreate, right? Not even tracing, but maybe just drawing it by hand. Like it just depends on how society decides to value it. And that remains to be seen.
This is stressing me out.
But it shouldn't. I feel like because we've been part of this before with almost every trade and every facet of what we do, it has evolved and changed, and some things have died, some things have modified, some things have gotten watered down, but this is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. They're trying to
Sure.
build into, like right now, I guess the saving grace for things like Dolly is I think they're trying to build into it like a watermark. So there will be some way of being able to tell if something was truly auto generated versus if someone did it by hand. And I think another limitation right now is unless you pay for something that will output a high quality image, Dolly, these phone apps and stuff, the quality of the image is so low, you can't blow it up and create a masterpiece, like a poster sized image of something without it like degrading the
Yeah.
quality. But that's going to change. And I think you probably could pay for services that'll output it high quality, but it's not there yet. Like most people are just using the free stuff. They're taking it into Illustrator and vectorizing it. And then,
But I think that's the whole argument is the plagiarism factor. It's not even for me. Let's skip the fact that you guys are using Procreate against my will. Let's skip all that. The point is for me that they're taking work from other artists and they're trying to pass it off because the computer generation is not creating anything new. It's taking what's already there and outputting it in a combination of ways.
yeah, it's learning.
So it has to be based off of work that's already out
But
there.
someone could argue, like, that's how you learn in school, right? You learn based on other people's work and you generate something based on what you've learned. It's just now it's automated versus done in your brain.
True, but you're not creating something that you can pass off as artwork by not doing it. That's my point.
Someone that is doing it is just using a model to more efficiently do it. But I get what you're saying. I 100% get what you're saying.
It has to be for somebody's, it's like doing it against somebody's. If I can just go in and type in an artist that I love and say, create a cat in the style of Picasso. Let's just use Picasso for it. And then enter it somewhere, and I've literally haven't done anything, and I'm basing it completely off of somebody else's style without giving credit, without documenting the process, and just passing it off. I think that's what the issue is, the deeper issue. And because when you put it online, there's nothing that you say, or no signature or whatever that says, I give people permission to take my work and reuse it for something else.
I'm sad to share this with you, but I recently saw social media, and I'll try to put it in the show notes if I find it. I think I did save it. Google, I believe, is releasing something that does that for music, where you can auto-generate music and you could have it based on other people's music.
Yep.
I don't know how.
Was this the end of originality?
The thing about it is, it seems like that, but there have been points in our history where evolution in technology has taken place and people are like, this is the end of creativity. But creativity always finds a way to survive.
Okay, but the difference is, go back to photography. Yes, we had film cameras and now we have digital cameras, but that was just changing the medium. That's not changing the process. This is literally changing the process, and it's based on work that's already been done.
It's evolution.
So this is not.
But I know the icky part. I know the icky part.
Are you a robot?
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I know the icky part of it is you're basing it on really the work of others, right? But it is
based on the work of others.
Yeah, it is. Because that's how the models have been trained. It has been trained by whatever, other photographers, other artists, other writers, other whatever. Basically, it's taking amalgamation, I think that's the right word, of stuff and then synthesizing it based on what you ask it, though. I think that is like the unique part of it. Is if both of us were entering, let's say it was a AI generated art contest, okay? So everybody knew somebody was going to do something generated by AI. And they said the theme of it is nature, right? What you come up with and what I come up with, even though the system is using the same set of models or algorithms, whatever the most appropriate phrase is, we're going to come up with something totally different. Because how we interact with that model, our styles, the coloring that we're going to use, even if we said we're going to both base it off of someone famous, the end result of that is still going to be very different. And I think that is where the new skill set is going to come in for AI generated material, is how someone is able to take this information and then output something that, yes, is based on other people's work, but spinning it to be unique and creative in its own right. But the thing, there is a line though, because some things will be so similar that is, did you really modify it enough? But that happens now, right? When people copy people's websites, people copy all kind of stuff. People steal people's code, people
That's
steal
true.
everything. They steal their,
But I think the
yeah.
important part that you said in this example is if it was an AI generated
Mm.
content. That having that disclaimer there is enough to placate me, as opposed to just calling it an open contest of all the fantastic paint in the world, and one person just said a couple of words into a computer, and another person spent
Hours.
24 months creating a piece of
But
work.
it,
But if we know that it's AI generated as opposed to somebody just trying to pass it off, then I think as far as creativity is concerned.
yeah, I think that'll happen. So I remember years ago, the Torpedo Factory every year has like an art exhibition for students and stuff, and you can enter student work, blah 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 blah. But I remember one year, it was like a long time ago, so the details are a little fuzzy. But I remember there was a caveat about art submitted, and it was something like cannot be Photoshop generated. Right? So it's under the same premise, right? Because basically
Okay.
for them, they were looking for art pretty much done by hand versus done by computer generation. And then I think over the years, maybe they even changed it where it something or a photos or art or something, and I'm paraphrasing here, people, don't quote me on this. It was something like can't be more than 40% generated or helped, something like that. And so I think as AI evolves, you are going to have these caveats, right? So then if someone does enter a beautiful watercolor, when the rules clearly state cannot be AI generated, then they would be able to revoke like that winning status from that person because the rules state what is going to be considered. But regardless, I still think that AI generated piece is going to be considered art, even though it is created by AI.
Okay, you won this one.
It's just.
You and your robot brethren have won this argument.
Hey, when it comes, there is so much here, right? When it comes to ethics, like with plagiarism or like harmful stuff like we talked about or copyright, there's a lot there that I think needs to be done. I mean, we're still living in a world where Black people are treated like crap and I'm not even going to go down that kind of like rabbit hole. So when you're still in a world where racism is still a thing, that it really concerns me about how these systems are being trained. And that is not even getting into what our last 10 minutes have been on the plagiarism side of it. I'm more worried about how me as a minority is represented in the data more than I'm worried about the plagiarism. That is a worry to me, but I am more worried about that because when students and so forth start to use these systems in order to generate content, if our stories, if our data isn't in the data sets, because you got places like freaking Texas or whatever, right, that refuses to teach certain things in school, right? Mm-hmm. So just imagine if those data sets also removed pieces of information from history and then people are generating content based on a data set that is not full and complete or is misrepresenting information. So to me, that is like the numero uno concern. And then the plagiarism, harmful content and stuff, there's up there. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? So there's a whole host of challenges.
Along those same lines, I did experiment with Canva's image generation, and I was looking specifically for images of Black women doing something. I think I was looking for Black women with braids or Black women with locks, which was not going to be up there. And the output was very poor because, like you said, there's not enough representation online, which is where they're taking all these images anyway. The output was still, it's like, I could never create something based on how I looked using this particular platform because it's not pulling up anything that's useful to me.
Maybe we need to change the game.
Maybe we need to just go ahead and put a whole bunch
you
of
and I, we need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure we're represented because it is important. Because I think like even those, and I'll put a link to it in the notes, those beautiful AI generated photos of the elderly Black people were beautiful. They were like HDR photos, like at first I thought they were like real. I thought they were just HDR, so it was just
Yeah.
super photoshopped and multiple images overlapped. And when I saw that they were AI, I was like, what? But I'm like, I want the systems to be able to do that and do it accurately. So I think we do need to really figure out how that's going to happen and get involved. So anywho,
One more
oh, go
thing,
ahead.
switch off. You did mention school and education and papers and all that. So I can't leave this conversation without talking about how it's going to affect schools and colleges, whatever. As a teacher, that is a big conversation that's going on in the administrative offices right now. The being able to detect AI and this, that, and the other. They're all in a kerfluffle, right? People are very upset about students maybe being able to write papers faster or whatever. So, on the flip side, where I'm very passionate about the artwork, when it comes to papers and regurgitating information, I don't think that's the best way for students to learn in the first place. I don't necessarily have a problem with students using it. I think teachers are going to have to evolve, especially professors are going to have to evolve so that they're not basing their entire metrics on how somebody learns by these 10 and 20 and 30 page papers. I think project based learning is going to be a way of the future where people have to think about and give their own input. At least that's how I'm going to apply it to my classes, because I've never been this type of teacher to just say, go to this book and write me a 10-page paper based on what you read, because I don't think you're necessarily learning that way, as opposed to coming up with a project based on what you read, which requires your own intelligence and your own thoughts and opinions. And that meaning if you're excited about something, then you're going to put more into it and you're actually learning as opposed to regurgitating. So it's a whole big thing in the university sphere, as you can imagine, because that's what a lot of teachers do. Here, write this paper. But now you have ChatGPT that can write this paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they are very concerned about what it's going to look like. And this is where I'm hoping the game will change a little bit for the better for certain students who writing is not their strength, but who are still intelligent people. So what do you think about that? They still need to learn how to write, but I don't believe in regurgitating information is learning. That's personal. I know there's a whole sector of education that believes that repetition helps to learn, but that's not my personal philosophy. But what do you think?
I'm sure we have some teachers listening that could definitely articulate this better than I. So if you're out there, teachers, comment on the blog article or the podcast article. But in which will be nachesnow.com/162. I think there is going to have to be a delicate balance. I think there's a place for using AI in order to enhance writing, but we still have to figure out a way to make sure that students know how to write. Because even I feel like thinking about how I grew up in school and how I learned how to write versus maybe someone like a white person that I know, it's very different. I think even when I got to a high school, because I went to a predominantly white high school, and I went to a predominantly black elementary school. The way the white students learned to write definitely was a little different than I had learned in elementary school. So I at least felt, in my case, and this is not for all black schools by any means, right? Each person learns a little differently too, is that some students were, because of the way they were educated in elementary school, were a little bit more advanced than I was at writing. Right? So I probably struggle a little bit more because of how I was taught. And so I bring that up to say, if in elementary school and even in high school, we learn the foundations of writing, and the teacher then also pairs it with how you can use AI to enhance it and learn to continue to write, that is great. But let's say if you have someone in high school or even college that was never taught how to write correctly. See, I'm like messing up now. How to write properly. And then they rely on these systems in order to correct them all the time. And then they're not learning from the systems how they could, write better. Then that kind of becomes a problem, because I feel like, I'm not going to say I'm an excellent writer now, but because writing is part of my weekly duties, like I do have to write large amounts of information, it actually helped me through the years to become a better writer. And so somehow actually writing coupled with using AI, teachers need to figure out how to like find a balance between the two, so you don't have people that are solely reliant on AI. Does that make sense? Kind of.
Does, but this is where I think ChatGPT might level the playing field in some ways. Because as you mentioned, in some black schools or some, it might not even be a black white thing, it
It
could
could
be a
be,
social
no, it could
economic.
be, I'm just talking about my personal experience, but it could be
Mhm.
if you grow up in a low income area and you don't have access to the best schools, and you could be white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter who you are, it's
Yeah.
because of the neighborhood.
But also, you could think about developmental challenges too, people with ADHD or all that. Writing is just not something that they're ever going to be super. I'm not going to say ever, because some people excel at it, because if you like it, then you're going to excel at it. So let's say that you're not a person who can do a lot of writing. You weren't growing up with it. You went to a high school that didn't excel at it. But then you need to go to college, and then you're still graded on the same playing field. And people definitely look at you differently if your grammar is improper and all that kind of stuff. So it's such a twisted web, because I think on the one hand it can really help some people, especially using something like Grammarly.
But
I would never touch
the
this.
thing is, I think it's not going anywhere, and it should be used. But we have to figure out how we continue to educate people to actually learn how to write, also, so that this isn't a crutch. Because for people that, because we'll still be at a disadvantage if we use Grammarly and ChatGPT or whatever, and without it we can't write, and we're in a situation where we don't have it, we're totally screwed. And also, knowing how to write, you can know when the systems are kicking back at you incorrect information. It's almost like Word, how it'll tell you like to change there to there, or it'll have you put a comma in a weird place, and you're like, this isn't right. But if you don't know it's not right, even with the system helping you, people can still snuff you out and know that you are not a good writer and you're relying on these systems. And so that's why I'm like, there has to be a balance, but I don't think these should go away. I think they should be able to be used in schools, but I think we need to figure out what that balance looks like. And I'm just not a teacher. I don't know the lessons that are being taught in schools now, but I think we need a new way of teaching how to write that couples or that incorporates AI into it.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay. Wow, I didn't know we were going to spend that much time on this part of. But I should have known, talking to Kay, she always goes to that deep, dark place. Here I am. I was like, hey, I just want to talk about how this is so cool. But the last thing I'll say that I wanted to bring up, what did I want to bring up? Is just an example of how it can be useful. At least I can speak to the text part of it, because to be honest, I haven't really delved into the image part of it. I've read it, but I haven't used it myself. But this morning, I decided to go into ChatGPT and ask it some questions.
Oh boy.
And I just want to give people like a sense as we wrap up, like how you could use it to brainstorm, to generate ideas, and learn, right? Like it's an educational tool. You can have it teach you how to do something, right? And so anyway, I was like, how can you use AI on your phone to automate small tasks? And it said, use voice assistants such as Siri and Google Assistants for hands-free commands. Use smart home automation apps to control home appliances. Use task automation apps such as IFT or Tasker to automate repetitive tasks. Use camera and image recognition apps to automate photo organization. Use AI-powered personal finance and budgeting apps, and use AI-powered language translation apps. And you frowned on the camera and image recognition, but actually that's really good, because in the new version of iOS, it will detect duplicates, which I've used. You just go in there and then you just delete the duplicates. And then it uses AI it'll be like, is this photo Lakay? And I'm like, yeah, that's Lakay. And then it'll put you in your Lakay bucket. It is pretty cool.
I wasn't frowning. I was like, I didn't know you could do that.
And then I said, what are some other day-to-day things AI can help with? And it said customer service and support through chatbots, virtual personal shopping and styling assistance, AI-powered virtual writing and editing tools, all these start with AI, but personal health and fitness coaches, translation and language learning apps, security and surveillance systems, traffic and navigation systems, and personal productivity and organizational tools. Now, the next question is how you start to dig. So I said, what are some AI-powered personal and productivity organizational tools, right? I start pulling from the list that it provided. And then is Todoist, a task management app, Google Keep, a note-taking app, Monday.com, a project management app, and then it listed Trello, Asana, Evernote, Toggle, Airtable, right? I was like, where's Notion? But whatevs. And then
it knows what it's doing. AI is never wrong.
And then I asked it, I'm like, but how are they powered by AI? And then each sentence starts with AI algorithms. And then it's like the first one says, suggest tasks or reminders based on previous behavior and usage patterns. Prioritize tasks, to-do lists, or email based on importance. Automate repetitive tasks such as data entry or information categorization. Provide insight and analytics to optimize time management and productivity. Suggest new ways. That's where that intelligence part comes in, right? Suggest new ways to streamline workflow processes based on usage patterns. Perform natural language processing, blah, blah, blah. And it had some other ones. And then, I had asked it, what are some AI productivity tips for iPhone users? And it gave me like a few of those, like note-taking, time tracking, Hey Siri, all of that. And then I'll end with this one because this is what half our conversation was on. I said, how can AI introduce biases? So I asked the AI how it can introduce biases. And it gave me 6 things. It says data set bias. Algorithms are trained on data sets, and if the data sets are biased, the AI model will learn and reflect that bias. Human bias. AI algorithms can reflect the biases and prejudices of the humans who design and build them. Confirmation bias. AI algorithms can perpetuate existing biases by only presenting information that confirms existing beliefs and opinions. Algorithmic bias. AI algorithms can make biased decisions due to the way they are designed, such as weighting certain factors more heavily than others. Societal bias. AI algorithms can reinforce existing societal biases, such as discrimination based on race, gender, or socioeconomic status. And lastly, lack of diversity in AI development. The lack of diversity in the AI development industry can lead to lack of perspective and potentially perpetuate biases in AI systems. And so, but then, and I'm going to ask you, how do you think it answered this? I said, well, how can we correct this?
It probably said, too late now, we're not going to do it. No, it probably said, actually, maybe it was saying something like the input, or more scientists can input information so that the correct answers, I don't know. I have no idea. What did it say?
You're going to get in there. Diversifying data sets. Diversifying the data sets used to train the AI algorithm can reduce effects of data bias.
Say that.
Human oversight and accountability. Regular review and oversight of AI algorithms by diverse teams of experts can reduce the effects of human bias. Fairness and transparency, making the decision-making process of AI algorithms transparent and fair can help to identify and address biases. Regular testing and auditing. Another one was increasing diversity in AI development. Encouraging diversity in AI development industries can help ensure that AI systems are built with multiple perspectives and reduce biases. And the last one is having ethical guidelines. Implementing and following ethical guidelines for AI development and usage can help to address biases and prevent harm.
Those are fantastic answers.
Oh, I didn't even have to come up with that myself. Now, can I fact check those? 100%. I can try to go on the Google machine and see what articles have been written by a diverse set of people that validate the responses that were provided. So technically, yeah. And so I just wanted to share that just to give you guys a sense of what you could do. I asked how can artists use AI for their business? Tell me more about AI powered virtual galleries and exhibitions. How can I use this to automate curation? I just went down this whole path, and me and this AI system was having this personal conversation about AI, biases, how it can help artists, what tools could be used.
I always thought it was something funny about you. Now I know.
I'm not
just
saying
all the right answers.
I may have been called a robot in the someone who shall remain unnamed did call me Vicky one day.
I forgot about that show. You're going to have to put a link in there. It's going to be some people who don't know what we're talking about.
That's so true.
Oh my gosh.
But anywho, people, just to wrap up, this is just introducing you. If you haven't heard about this, and if you are not part of the conversation, if you are not using AI somehow, we just wanted you to be aware, even though Lakay was trying to gatekeep.
I was.
We just want to make sure you're aware. So you can never say you didn't know. You didn't know these things were out there. You can never say you didn't know the pros and cons, because this is already long, but of course, because it's Lakay and I talking. But the amount of tools, there are hundreds of AI tools that you could use for your business and your personal life out there. It's really just figuring out where you need assistance and where you want to become more efficient.
I encourage your listeners to, if you've never heard of this before, just sign up for an account and just try something. Because talking about it is different from actually typing something in and seeing what it can do, because it's amazing technology. It's just still feels icky to me. But am I using it? Yes, I am.
And I feel like the one way they're trying to make it safe, and that so people to try to prevent people from using it for bad, is you have to sign in with an account, right? Like some kind of account that attaches you to a human. You can't use it without signing up for it, which does mean that they can track what you're doing technically, right? But it also means someone in there can't type something harmful and then it not be tracked to someone in some kind of way. And I think those are just fail-safes. Of course, our personal privacy is eliminated because they know what we're searching, but it does put some fail-safes in there. Okay, this is for all the things that we have mentioned and anything else I find. Please go to episode 162, nachesnow.com/162. Please leave comments on the Instagram post or on the article itself. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Please tag us in anything that you think we should check out related to artificial intelligence. Of course, subscribe to the podcast. You have ideas for Lakay and I to talk about. Of course, we still need to finish our wellness series, but email me at hello@nachesnow.com. Remember to rate me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, thumbs up on YouTube. If you are in the Virginia Beach area, or if you want to fly Lakay out to do your photography, an actual photographer instead of a robot, your photography, check her out at lakayumba.com.
We didn't even get to talking about how AI is going to destroy a whole bunch of job industries. That was on my list.
Oh my God, that is a whole, we are so not going there. And not destroy, it will. Oh, okay. We're not even gonna go there. We ain't gonna go there. And of course, Notion, people. nachesnow.com/Notion, because this way I'm telling you guys how to create a second brain from Notion. There are some things that can be automated in Notion, and then their artificial intelligence is coming to Notion. So I'm just saying Notion is my drug of choice for technology. So definitely, that's such a poor way of saying that. But definitely check it out, nachesnow.com/Notion. And of course, thank you guys for listening. And yeah, we'll see you next week. All right, take care. Bye.